Hi, my name is Bridget Goldstein. I'm the spiritual director, teacher, and founder of aridspirit.org. aridspirit.org is an online retreat where you can go to rest, contemplate, and refresh your spirit. So I'm going to do that right now with some water. So we are very busy, and there are so many things that are clamoring for our attention that at the end of the day, we run out of time for ourselves. We need that refreshment for our spirit. Meditation is a great way to get refreshed, but some people can't stand long enough to contemplate a thought, let alone sit for 5 minutes in silence. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you the Labyrinth, which is a walking meditation. When you hear the word labyrinth, what comes to mind? For those of you who are familiar with prayer labyrinths, you may get visions of peace and tranquility. For those of you that are not so familiar with prayer labyrinths, you may get visions of the David Bowie Labyrinth from the well-known movie of the same name. That is a place full of tricks and dead ends and monsters. Yes, monsters. So, here I am talking to you about a labyrinth. Is there really monsters in the labyrinth? Well, labyrinths have been around for 4,000 years or more. They've been seen on prehistoric rock carvings. My research picked them up in ancient Greece. And according to an ancient Greek myth, there was, in fact, a monster who had taken up residence in the labyrinth. And this was a half-man, half-bull monster type guy, and his name was Minotaur. So Minotaur liked to trick people to coming to where he was, and then he would eat them. That's not attractive. That's not peaceful. That's not tranquil. So, come to the Middle Ages, and we have the Christian church that came in and actually married the labyrinth with sacred geometry. Now let's step back a little bit. The maze that I was telling you about, and in fact the difference between the maze and the labyrinth that I'm going to be talking to you about, is that a maze is multi-cursoral, which means there are many exits and many entries, and there are also many different paths. And there are also those dead ends that I was talking about earlier. The prayer labyrinth and the labyrinth that the Christian church married to the sacred geometry is in fact a unicursoral. And that means there's only one way in and one way out. And in fact, that's the same entry and exit point. And there is only one way around. There's only one path. So that is the labyrinth that we're going to talk about today. So the most well-known labyrinth of this type is in Chartres, France, in the Chartres Cathedral. I think it's Chartres Cathedral and Chartres Labyrinth. This is an 11-circuit labyrinth, which means that from one point on the edge to the center, there's 11 different paths that you're going to cross. And the paths go windy up and down and up and down. I'm currently studying from a book called Walking a Sacred Path, Rediscovering the Labyrinth as a Spiritual Practice, written by Lauren Artress. And I apologize, I left it out in the in my living room, but I will put the information down in the notes of the video when I'm finished here today. So Lauren is an Episcopal priest, and she served at the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco when they were actually installing the Labyrinth there, which is a replica of the Labyrinth at Chartres. She's also the founder of Veridatas, which is an organization that trains and fosters the facilitation of Labyrinth walks and Labyrinth education. So what is all this about the Labyrinth? And the title to my class is A Wild Walk. What am I talking about? Well, the monster was pretty wild, I think. But what is even more wilder is what I'm about to share with you now. And that is how I walk the Labyrinth. Each person and each Labyrinth walk will be completely different, but there are elements that will remain the same. And the elements that remain the same are the journey to the center, your time in the center, and your journey away from the center. So when I first walked a Labyrinth, I had no idea what I was doing. I said, this is interesting. Didn't have any training, didn't use any YouTube videos or anything like that. But what I did was I took that first step. And as I took that first step, the energy that enveloped me was amazing. It's very difficult to explain, and I suspect that it has to do with that sacred geometry. And if any of you out there know about sacred geometry and would like to teach a class on it, I would love to learn more about it because it's incredible. So what I did was I took the first step, and as I was walking through to the center, I began thinking about my life and what was going on and the struggles that I was encountering. And what I did was I found myself dropping those problems. Oh, had trouble paying my bills this month. Drop it down. Oh, had trouble with a family member. Drop it down. And so on and so forth until I got to the center. And by the time I got to the center, I was in a mental, physical, and spiritual place to receive what Spirit wanted to impart to me. So I got whatever it was for that day, and they're always gems. And I took that and I sat for a moment and I meditated. And then I began my walk back into the world. It's so hard to leave the center for me. It really is, because it is such a wonderful, peaceful, and connected place. My earlier video was ways to connect to source energy. The Labyrinth walk is definitely one of those ways. So as I'm walking out, I began to pick up little tidbits of how I can use the information that I gained in the center in my daily life. And I have 11 paths to pick those things up. So by the time I am at the exit, I have wonderful information that I now know how to take into the world. So that is how I walk the labyrinth in any given walk. So there are different types of walks, and just like there's different types of meditation. So you can have a walk for yourself. So maybe you're having a health issue and you want to gain some knowledge or some information on what you should do. Definitely you can take that into the labyrinth. If you want to work with your spirit guides, this would be a great way to connect with them before you are using any of your other tools. That would be a good way. And if you are, having any types of issues, really, you can take it and you'll stand in the entryway to the labyrinth with intention. Say, this is what I'm walking for right now, and then begin your walk. Again, everyone's walk is different, and you may find yourself bursting into tears or being really angry. Just go with that. It's there for a reason. So invite it. See what it's there for. See what it has to tell you. Another reason that you could walk would be for others. Many people in this class included are having difficulties. So you could dedicate one of your prayer walks to that person, or to the general issue at hand. Folks are getting sick. Folks are getting, they don't have a lot of energy. So you could dedicate that labyrinth walk to that issue and go through and see what comes out for you, and then bring it back to all of us. Still, another way is for the collective. So many things are going on in this world today, and they are depressing. Depressing, frustrating, angering. Hate is in the world right now. And what we can do, how we can change that, is to do a labyrinth walk, to bring love into the world. And we can do it for any number of causes. If there's a group you're working with, you can dedicate energy walking the labyrinth to that group. And my favorite is healing the planet. Just as you're walking through, just sending energy with each of your steps down into Mother Earth and just giving her love. So that is a great way to do the walk as well. I want to go back to talking about the labyrinth in France at Chartres and tell you about a little bit more about the sacred geometry. So the cathedral itself, and those of you who know this get refascinated, because I think it's fascinating. The facade of the church has two steeples, and the one main steeple has a stained glass rose window. And if you take that facade and you put it down onto the floor of the cathedral, that rose window goes directly onto the labyrinth. And at one point each day, the rose color glass from the stained glass window goes right into the middle of that labyrinth. So I just think that is so amazing, and I would love to, and I'm going to study more sacred geometry, but that is wonderful for me. So I hope you have enjoyed this wild walk through the history of the labyrinth, and I hope that you will revisit, or if you haven't, I hope that you will visit for the first time a labyrinth for your first or second or third or fourth labyrinth walk. If you don't know where to find a labyrinth near you, there are a couple places you can go. You can go to Worldwide Labyrinth Locator or the Labyrinth Society. Those are two places that you can go to get information on the labyrinth located closest to you. For those of you in the Fort Worth area, there is St. Stephen's Presbyterian Church, I believe, that has a really nice one. And also in Weatherford, Texas, there is Shandor Gardens that I just found. I haven't walked that one yet, but I'm very excited to go and do that. So again, my name is Bridget Goldstein. I am with aridspirit.org. If you'd like more information on labyrinths, or a labyrinth finger walk, so you can walk the labyrinth with your finger, I have those available on my website for download. Thank you for being with me. I've so enjoyed sharing with you. Until next time.